Hello, I'm Jonasz Rewiński and you're watching TVP World Talks, where every word matters. Energy diversity has recently become a major topic of debate, especially in the European Union, which was forced to re-evaluate its approach to powering its economy in the wake of the war in Ukraine. Realizing that the so-called cheap energy from Russia actually carries a heavy geopolitical price, many countries are now busy reinventing their energy mix. The Baltics have now disconnected from the Russian energy grid, while countries such as Poland are preparing to go nuclear. But is this enough to avert a grim future of blackouts and skyrocketing prices? Joining us now is Herkko Plit, founder and CEO at P2X Solutions. Hello and welcome to TVP World.
Hello.
So let's begin with the Baltic states, actually. Lithuania's President Gitanas Nausėda said goodbye Russia, goodbye Lenin, shortly after disconnecting from the Russian grid and connecting to the grid operated by the European Union. So it is a major success. Do you think that it is actually going to improve the position of the Baltic states when it comes to their energy security for the years and decades to come?
Well, this was absolutely an issue which was inevitable there, that at some point of time this disconnection need to be done there, and it has been prepared for a very, very long time. So many years of activities there, that this is not an overnight story, that what the countries have been doing. And this is also strengthening then the EU internal electricity market there, so that we have now all the countries which are really dependent on the European sources and so forth there. So I think this was very positive issue. Then, of course, this needed to be carried out carefully there, and I'm very happy that this transition was successful there over the weekend.
So do you think there is still a risk of any sort of interference from the outside? We do know about the situation in the Baltic, and while we do not have hard and fast evidence yet, there are suggestions that Russia might have been trying to sabotage the existing energy network and might still have plans to do so in the future. Do you think that we are ready to counter this threat?
Well, I think this is something there that we have been seeing there, that the energy infrastructure has been, so to say, somehow been trying to be influenced and so forth. This is kind of a new reality, that whatever is then the cause of these issues that take place, being there that these gas pipelines are being then hit there, or data cables or whatever. It has now happened then all too often in the Baltic Sea there, and we have to be prepared also that it might happen then towards our energy infrastructure. And the reality is that we have to prepare for this kind of hybrid influence which is now taking place.
So now the Baltic states are essentially sending a message. We do not want to be blackmailed by Russia. We want to be independent. We want our energy systems to be secure. But unfortunately, it seems that some countries in Central and Eastern Europe have still not learned the valuable lesson of just how important it is to maintain a diverse mix of energy sources. Slovakia, for example, why do you think this country still has such tremendous issues when it comes to the supply of gas? Is it possible for them to change suppliers so that Russian gas will no longer be an issue?
It's always about the price, then how much people are ready to pay for it, then and kind of secure energy has been one of those basic needs that we have been used to, that we have gas, we have electricity there, and we don't have to worry about the price, how much do we have to pay for it. But now the world has changed there, and we have to then adapt to the new situation. And in that respect, to be ready for the green transition there, and also then to adapting there, that there is not anymore this Russian cheap energy available there, and therefore to look for the new sources. Renewable energy is one which is certainly, so to say, very, very important in the long term then, but in the meanwhile there are new gas sources also in the market. And we have to be somehow then in the position to secure then also the supply of these critical countries.
So would you say that when it comes to dependence on Russia, we have done everything that we could, or is there still a lot of work to be done in some areas? In particular, I am looking at Rosatom, the company that has not been subject to extensive sanctions for a long time. It actually has been exempt, unlike the gas sector, the oil sector. And also, many countries are operating power plants which still use Russian technology. Do you think that this is an issue that will stay with us for quite a while?
Well, there has been many of those companies who have been, so to say, abandoning then the Russian technology and so forth. There, for example, in Finland we have this Loviisa nuclear power plant, and which is of Russian origin, and they have now changed their fuel. The nuclear fuel come from Western sources and so forth. There, this was either then not an overnight story. Then it takes the time then to go forward with those actions. Then. But I think then we have been working now very well to kind of become independent from these Russian technologies and so forth. And this work will need to have to continue there over the years as well. It is evident then that some of those issues have been so critical there, and that's why they have not been sanctioned. And we have to, like I said, we have to secure for the living standard for our Western people there, that we still have then lights in our houses then, and have so to say energy which we are ready and can pay for it then. And that's why then, so to say, situation is not so easy at all then to solve these issues.
Just very briefly, from a technological perspective, how does it work when you have a power plant which was originally based on Russian technology and so was designed to accept the fuel rods and components made in the Russian Federation? It's not quite as easy as changing the supply of gas, is it? What are the technological barriers and obstacles that need to be overcome? Is it actually possible to do that without exchanging the entire technological infrastructure beforehand?
No, it depends really then what kind of spare parts you are having available there, and also very much on this how much of this technical expertise have been remaining in the country itself there. That, for example, in Finland, then we have been quite independent and running those units, then the nuclear power plants, and therefore the way has been very much easier than that in the kind of cases that if you have been totally relying on Russian expertise and technology and so forth there. So it's always a case by case. You have to evaluate how easy that is there. It's not impossible then, but certainly it needs to time to change totally from that scene to another one.
When it comes to building a new nuclear power plant, Poland is about to begin construction. It is actually eyeing a location for a second nuclear power plant already. What are the obstacles and challenges that need to be considered? You actually had experience when it comes to a similar project, like building Finland's latest, actually biggest nuclear power plant in history. What would you say Poland should actually take into account when it comes to things that may happen before the reactors go live and begin delivering power to the grid?
Well, the situation nowadays is totally different that we were then 20 years ago when we started constructing this Olkiluoto 3 unit there. There hadn't been any new nuclear construction in Europe for 20 years there, and unfortunately we had to face that reality there, that some of this expertise had disappeared then, and that's why it was very painful experience then when we were constructing the unit. However, so to say, despite of the very lengthy time there that the construction actually did take place, then we have now the unit in operation there, and that just became on time there, because when the war in Ukraine started, we had the unit then, so to say, almost in operation there, and that has been now able to secure us for the long-term energy supply then. And so in that respect, despite then the challenges we had, it was very, so to say, good decision that we have the unit now in operation. There are, so to say, several challenges that you have to take into account, and I cannot, so to say, neglect the importance of safety. Safety is the utmost important issues there that you have to secure when you are constructing the nuclear power plant there. And there has to be also adequate so to say, trainings and competencies within the country to be able to operate it there in a safe manner. Then several project level challenges and so forth there where the experienced people need to dig into that one and so forth. Then but I see that in still in the long run there that it's an investment for the future there and this way needs to be gone through then by each country then whenever they feel that it's appropriate time for it.
So, of course, it is a vital investment for the economy and society, but also once a nuclear power station is constructed, it will be one of the most sophisticated and one of the most expensive facilities in the country. Do you think that to some extent the new SMR technology can actually be used to supplement the operation of full-scale nuclear power plants? SMR, small modular reactors, a lot is being said about them in the media, but what are their capabilities? What are the best applications for this kind of technology?
Traditionally, these nuclear units have been very huge. Then we are talking about then 1 gigawatt or even above there, as in case of Olkiluoto 3 there. And of course, the risk related to those ones are larger than the smaller units. And in that respect, then the SMRs, the smaller units there, which can also then be used for so to say other purposes there that simply so to say nuclear production there, so heat and this kind of issues which are favorable as regards their design, is something that needs to be considered, and also kind of the systematic licensing of those. The smaller the unit is there, so the easier it should be to license, making a standardized product, which in turn then reduces the cost. So I see the future of these SMRs, but this, let's be realistic there, and their early operation could be started in the next decade and so forth. But it means there that it's important now to go and design and do the permitting of such units there, that actually they are ready to go and be available for the operation there, so to say, in midterm next decade or so. So important development that needs to be continued.
How do they differ from a conventional type of reactor? For example, is an SMR even capable of going into meltdown? What kind of technological background do you need to operate them? Is it much less of an issue than with a full-scale nuclear power plant? Can you tell us more about these differences and advantages that an SMR may have over a conventional design for a nuclear reactor?
It really doesn't matter there. So are you having a kind of conventional SMRs there? Like I said there, that the safety is ultimate issue that you have to secure in the operation there. And that's why we are having the engineers who are designing there, so that you are having several layers of safety protection that it secures then the system. What is, so to say, good is that if you can have kind of a passive systems which don't need to have any technology or so, they are always beneficial in as regards for the safety. But all the SMRs need to go through the profound licensing process and show that they are really safe in an operation and so forth there, that people don't have to be afraid there that if when they are taken in use, that are they safe to be operated and so forth. There's no question about that cannot be sacrificed.
Herkko Plit was our guest today here on TVP World. Thank you very much for joining us and for sharing your insight into the subject.
Thank you. It was pleasant.
And I'm Jonasz Rowinski. You're watching TVP World. Please do stay with us for more latest news and updates.